Today, I will be guiding you through the installation and general features of the Acumen Digital Rearview Mirror Dashcam. Please note that the installation process may vary from car to car, so only use this as a template for your own installation. Today, we'll be installing the camera on a 2007 Toyota Camry. After we install the camera itself, I'll be guiding you through the routing of the 12-volt power cable and a separate power and AV cable which delivers power to the rear camera. After all that, I'll be guiding you through the other accessories contained within the box. To install the XR16 onto your factory mirror, simply place the XR16 onto the mirror, and then using the two rubber straps included, secure the mirror, hooking the strap first onto the hook on the top to the hook on the bottom. Next, we will begin the installation of the 12-volt power cable. To begin, select a cigarette outlet. Connect the adapter to that outlet and begin routing the cable over, up, and to the camera. In this car, we'll begin by removing this piece of trim, continuing over the steering column, up the A-pillar, and across the headliner later. Because this vehicle is equipped with airbags, we'll be disconnecting the battery in order to prevent an unintended activation of the system. Next, we will install the rear camera and begin routing the rear AV cable. To do this, we've opened the trunk, and we'll start by removing this panel. In order to do that, we'll remove the various pins securing the panel in place. Now, remove the panel, which will give us access to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts and 1, 2 trim clips, so we can remove the trim covering the exterior license plate lights. Next, we're going to fasten the camera onto the body of the vehicle. To do that, there are two methods. The first is to utilize the included screws to fasten the camera onto the body of the car. The second is with the included adhesive strip to adhere the camera to the body. When placing the camera onto the trunk lid trim, ensure that the wire faces in towards the car and that the camera is oriented as far out as it can be. Press to adhere. Next, we'll be drilling a hole to pass the cable through the body. You may find it easiest to pass this hole behind the license plate. In our case, we find it simplest to do it right here. Make sure your drill bit is as close in size as you can to the size of the plug. In our case, that's 7/32 of an inch. Next, we'll be routing the wiring from the camera to the inside of the trunk. To do this, we'll remove the license plate light here. First, remove the harness from the outside of the light by twisting the bulb holder. Then, squeeze the tabs on the side of the light and lift it out. From here, we can return to the outside of the car and fasten the trunk trim piece on, reversing the order in which we removed all the nuts and clips and fasteners. After connecting our AV harness to our camera's pigtail, we're going to insert our line tap onto the camera's reverse light wire. I've determined before the shoot that this is the wire for the vehicle's reverse lights. Next, we'll take the red wire from our AV harness, insert it into the line tap, and crimp the tap down to join the wires together. We can now remove the excess from the harness and begin routing the cabling into the cabin and up to the camera at the front. As we're going, I'll be following the path of the factory's wiring harness and adding a zip tie every place where the factory added a cable tie. Now that we've routed the harness outside of the trunk panel, I'm going to reinstall this trunk trim panel. As we go, I'll be taking care to route through the emergency trunk release and then simply line up the holes on the trim panel with the holes on the trunk panel, add the pins in, and install. Now, I will pass the wire through the rear bulkhead, following the factory harness along the way. Now that I've passed the wire through the bulkhead, I'm going to reach into the car and pull it through the other side. Now I'm going to remove the door seal by pulling. This will give me access to the gap between the headliner and the body, enabling me to hide the cable there. As I get cable in place, I'm going to reinstall the door seal to hold it. Now I'm going to remove the B-pillar trim here. The first thing I'm going to do is pry off the lower piece just from the top. And then, now that I've exposed the 10mm bolt here, I'll get my 10mm ratchet and undo the bolt. With the bolt free, I can pull the piece off and route my wire. I'm going to remove the driver's door seal, continue routing the wire, just as before, between the headliner and the body of the vehicle, until we get to the curtain airbag here, where I'll begin working towards the center. Now that my wire is tucked up, I'm going to go back and reassemble my B-pillar trim here. For the B-pillar trim, we'll start by doing the upper piece, taking care to align this tang with this for the seatbelt adjuster. Ensure you locate the blue notch here with the hole here. Now we're going to finish routing the power cable, which we begun earlier on in the video. We have the cable here. We're going to remove this panel and the door seal all the way down to it. We're then going to finish routing the cable across, through the panel, and up in the gap between the door seal and the body of the car. Now that we have our wires pulled to the same point, I'm going to connect them to the XR16, power to power, AV to AV, and then the included SD card into the SD card port. I'm then going to take these wires and hide them inside of the headliner of the vehicle, taking care to leave slack in case we adjust the mirror later. We can see now that we have excess cabling. I'm going to take this cabling and hide it inside of the trim. Now that we've completed our installation, we can reconnect the negative terminal of the battery. Remember that sometimes your car's alarm may go off, so have your remote ready. With our battery reconnected, we can now use the unit. Turning on the car's ignition powers on the XR16. From here, we can access our homepage. The homepage allows us access to streaming media, permitting us to view the rear-facing camera, as well as the recorder, giving us view of the front camera. Additionally, when the car is shifted into reverse, the rear camera is chosen and parking lines are presented. Shifting back into park or drive deactivates the camera. When we power off the car, the camera powers off with it.